The order came through with all the warmth of a machine that had long forgotten it was meant to serve living beings. Asset Recovery Directive. You are authorized to extract one viable subject. The second is to be terminated or left behind. Ethan Cross stared at the holodisplay in silence. Beyond the reinforced viewport of the prison barge ventral, a dying red star bled light across the hull. Inside, the corridor smelled of disinfectant and old fear. Ethan had been a retrieval officer for 12 years, long enough to know when a mission crossed the line from ugly into unforgivable. But this one burned. "Say again," Ethan said quietly into his comm. The handler's voice crackled back, bored and efficient. 2 alien detainees. Non-human bonded adjacent species. Transport capacity allows for only one. Corporate interest requires a single live subject for study. Choose. Ethan closed his eyes. He had already seen them. The cell doors slid open with a hydraulic sigh. Inside, 2 alien women knelt on the floor, wrists bound by grav chains that shimmered with suppression fields. They were the same species. Illyri, tall and slender, skin patterned with faint bioluminescent lines that pulsed weakly with their heartbeats. They were starving. One looked up as Ethan entered. Her eyes, silver gold, too bright for a place like this, locked onto him. Hope flickered there, fragile and dangerous. The other pulled back instinctively, shielding her companion with her body despite the chains. They had already been told. Ethan knew the look. He'd seen it on 100 worlds. You can only save one. What are their conditions? Ethan asked, keeping his voice steady. Both viable, the handler replied. But bonded pairs reduce compliance metrics. You know this. One is expendable. Expendable. Ethan stepped fully into the cell. "I'm Ethan," he said aloud, knowing the translator field would carry his words. "I'm here to get you out." The first woman swallowed. Out together. The question hit harder than any weapon. Ethan hesitated for half a second. Then he said the truth. "I don't know yet." They had been captured during a border purge, one of dozens of security operations carried out far from public eyes. The Illyri were not aggressive. They were archivists, caretakers of pre-collapse worlds. Their mistake had been living on land a megacorp wanted strip-mined. The women's names were Lyra and Sane. Sisters not by blood but by bond. Among the Illyri, emotional bonds were sacred, neurologically reinforced. Separation trauma often led to death. Corporate science called that inconvenient biology. Ethan knelt in front of them, ignoring the cold calculation ticking in the back of his mind. "They told me I can only take one of you." Sane's shoulders slumped. Lyra's breath hitched, but she didn't cry. Instead she straightened. "Then take her," Lyra said quickly, nodding toward Sane. "She is stronger." Sane shook her head violently. "No, she lies. Lyra is." "Enough," Ethan said softly. They stopped. He looked at the chains. Military grade. Ship integrated. Not meant to be broken by a single officer with a sidearm and conscience. "Why would they do this?" Sane asked. "Why make you choose?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Because they think obedience matters more than lives." A warning ping echoed through the corridor. Decision timer. 4:59. Ethan stood slowly. "I'm not choosing," he said. The handler's voice sharpened. "Officer Cross, that is not an option." "It is," Ethan replied. "If I make it one." The first alarm sounded 2 minutes later. Ethan moved fast, overriding local safeties and rerouting power from non-essential systems. The ship groaned as gravity fluctuated. "What is happening?" Lyra asked. Ethan pulled a cutting torch from his kit. I'm breaking you out. Zane stared. You will be killed. Probably, Ethan admitted. He sliced through the grav chain anchor. Sparks flew. The suppression field flickered, then died. Both women gasped as sensation returned to their limbs. Ethan tossed them cloaks. Put these on. Stay close. The handler was shouting now. Cross, stand down. You are violating. Ethan cut the channel. Security drones swarmed the corridor ahead. Ethan fired not to kill but to disable. Years of fieldwork paid off. Precise shots, controlled bursts. They ran. Sirens wailed. Bulkheads sealed and reopened as Ethan forced alternate routes. At one junction, a drone caught Zane's leg with a stun bolt. She collapsed with a cry. Lyra turned back instantly. No, Ethan shouted. Keep moving. But Lyra was already lifting her sister, half dragging her forward. Ethan covered them, taking a hit to the shoulder that sent white-hot pain through his arm. He gritted his teeth and kept firing. They reached the hangar with seconds to spare. Ethan's shuttle sat fueled and waiting. Corporate arrogance had assumed compliance. As they lifted off, the prison barge fired on them. The shields flared dangerously. Ethan, Zane cried. The ship. I know, he said through clenched teeth. He slammed the throttle. The shuttle tore free into open space just as the barge's containment field collapsed behind them. Silence followed. Then stars. They hid on the edge of human-controlled space, on a forgotten mining outpost where no one asked questions. Ethan's shoulder healed slowly. Corporate warrants spread fast. His face appeared on data feeds across 3 sectors. Traitor. Smuggler. A thief. He didn't care. Lyra and Zane recovered even more slowly, but they recovered together. One evening, weeks later, Ethan found them standing outside the outpost, watching a blue-white sun set behind broken machinery. You did not choose, Zane said quietly. Ethan leaned against a rusted railing. I don't believe in that kind of choice. Lyra turned to him. Among our people, refusal to choose is considered sacred. He blinked. It is. When one life cannot be weighed against another, she said, the answer is to protect both or die trying. Ethan exhaled a shaky laugh. Guess I accidentally followed Illyri philosophy. Zane smiled faintly. You did more than that. She stepped forward and placed her hand over his chest. Our bonds are not limited to our species, she said. You broke the chain that bound us. By our law. That matters. Ethan swallowed. I didn't do it for reward. We know, Lyra said softly. That is why it matters. The consequences came anyway. Corporate forces tracked them down 3 months later. But they were not alone. The Illyri sent envoys. Evidence. Testimony. Proof of illegal purges and blacksite prisons. Human media took notice. Governments demanded answers. The story spread. Not of stolen assets, but of a man who refused to choose. Public pressure mounted. Sanctions followed. The corporation collapsed under the weight of its own secrets. Ethan stood before a human tribunal weeks later. Why did you disobey a direct order? The judge asked. Ethan met her gaze. Because it was wrong. Silence. Then the gavel fell. Case dismissed. Years later, on a green world reclaimed from corporate ruin, Ethan watched Lyra and Zane walk through fields that were slowly coming back to life. You ever regret it? Zane asked him. He thought about the order. Timer. Chains. No, he said. Not for a second. Lyra smiled, bioluminescence glowing softly in the dusk. Then the galaxy learned something important, she said. What's that? That humans, Sane added, are dangerous. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Because, Lyra finished, you don't always obey. Ethan laughed quietly as the sun dipped below the horizon. In a universe built on cruel choices, humanity had made itself known for something else entirely: the courage to refuse.